Welcome to 5 Dubs by MDDC Press. I'm your host, Rebecca Snyder, the Executive Director of the Maryland, Delaware, and DC Press Association, which represents news media in our region. 5 Dubs focuses on the who, what, when, where, and why of local news media. We'll talk with the journalists about the stories behind the news. You can find more information about our guests in the show notes or on our website, www.5-dubs.com. Welcome. We are here with Dana Peck of the AFRO, and this episode continues our series on the best moves that MDDC members made in 2023. So I'm delighted to have you here, Dana.
Thank you, Rebecca. Appreciate being here.
Yeah. And so tell us about the AFRO's best move of 2023.
The AFRO's best move of 2023 is implementing our digital billboard network funded by philanthropy.
Oh, okay. So that's an interesting mix. So that comes really at the intersection of advertising and how we fund amazing local journalism. So tell me a little bit about what that is in terms of the digital billboard network. And then I totally need to hear about the funding streams and what the net effect has been.
Yes, well, you might have heard of digital out of home. You might remember, or when you go to the gas station, you see the screens up there and you hear a message.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now the AFRO's message are in currently 10 retail locations in the Baltimore metropolitan area, these neighborhoods of Owings Mills and Randallstown.
That's interesting. So how did you get the idea to set that up? Because that's I think in the media landscape these days, it's very, it's fractured in some ways. There's a lot of different channels, so to speak. But I don't hear of many members going sort of to that out of home network or to billboards. So how did that idea come about?
Well, the AFRO is a 131-year-old family business. And so my husband and I oversee the technology and digital efforts. And he's the visionary, and I go get the money and make it happen. So it's a great partnership. Along with all our other staff members, we have an incredible advertising team, leadership team, admin team, you name it. So we all came together for this effort. So my husband's a visionary. He was like, what if we could have our AFRO message, everywhere? He wants it in thousands of retail locations. And I said, well, I just saw a request for proposal from Google that is encouraging out of the box thinking to get our message out. And so I applied for a grant, and it's a proof of concept. And in the grant, we said, we want to get our message to where our people are. And so we also had to decide, where are we going to start? We're not going to start with 1,000 screens yet, but
Right.
Look at 10 screens, and we looked at an area that has a strong reader base based
Mm-hmm.
on our subscription and data numbers, and also a strong concentration of African Americans, African American owned businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So we partnered with this amazing company and went out there and started knocking on doors.
So when you say the message, I just want to make sure that I'm clear. Is it AFRO about the news media, or are you carrying advertising messages through sort of like a mini AFRO layout on the billboards? Like, what does it look like, and what are you carrying?
It's that and more. It's our news on a television screen inside the retail network, branded with AFRO, QR code to afro.com, mixed with advertising, events, PSAs, you name it.
So it really is sort of like almost news digests and bits and pieces, sort of like the newspaper in a different format. Am I getting that right?
Well, it's like news breaks. I mean, you might see it also like in a doctor's office. You might see some PSAs, but we will have links. Well, not links. The titles of our articles, a brief
Mm-hmm.
summary in images. Advertisers may want to promote a particular event, so it'll be an event image with a website. It's also other advertising. Each host receive this complimentary. So you have a complimentary TV screen in your retail location with your own commercial. and you can be in 5 other locations. So about half of the locations in this zone. So we also are selling ad spots. So it's a combination of news, advertising, and public service announcements.
I love that. That's such a great idea.
Yeah.
So where are those screens? You talked about hosts and I know you're in Owings Mills and Randallstown, which are really strong concentrations of Black owned businesses and Black readers. So who's hosting?
Chisel It Fitness. It's a fitness center and a business park. We've got Wiley Funeral Home, which happens to have the most impressions, like over 7,000 a month. It's a longstanding funeral home that's been in Baltimore, just opened up a new location. So we're looking forward to putting screens there. We've got Elite Import Auto, a local auto repair business. We also have Hugh Cafe. It's a vegan restaurant. We have Don Tigre Mexican Cantina. We have Pike's Diner. So a variety. We have a barber shop and a beauty salon, and then a yogurt shop, the Purple Flip.
I love the diversity of businesses that have embraced this. So um, I don't want to lose sight of sort of the funding and the grant and how you sort of got this proof of concept, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper on what the reception has been, what the the impact, or what are advertisers saying, what are readers saying, how's it working?
Well, I don't know if you know, one of our our themes for each month is "We're Still Here," because
Hmm.
oftentimes, since we've been around for 131 years, people refer to us as our grandmothers. That's my grandmother's newspaper. Oh, I saw that on my grandmother's coffee table. But we're not your grandmother's newspaper anymore. We're that plus. And um, we just wanted to have an opportunity to be where our people are and to prove we are still here, that Afro is still around, we're still relevant, and we have a strong digital presence. And why not combine that with news deserts? I mean, there is our areas in our metropolitan area where our people are not receiving the news. And
Hmm.
okay, they may be receiving the news, but they're not receiving the good news that we offer. Because think about it also, there's lots of negative news out there. But we can take a story and we take it from a different angle. And that has been the pride of the Afro, being a trusted resource for our community. So they can have a sense of pride when they see our content where they're shopping.
And I have always loved that about the Afro. You're so connected, of course, into your community, but also you take, and I think you can look at this historically, but you're taking an issue and really digesting it and framing it in a way that's unique and pertinent to your audience. And so I feel like you you're not a best kept secret, but you don't always get the attention you deserve
Yeah.
for the work that you're doing. So I love to see this kind of branching out and going a little bit bigger. Um, does it so I understand sort of that impact in reaching maybe news deserts or areas where people aren't necessarily picking up a publication but want content. Um, does that translate into dollars from advertising? What's been the effect for advertisers and then also the Afro on this?
Well, we reap several benefits. The PR aspect of it, our getting our logo out there. We're still here. That on the screen. Each screen is branded. We have boxes at each of the locations where people can place their business card there, so we can highlight it. Because for over 130 years, we've been supporting small businesses, and so this is just another aspect. So that is a major focus. Now, the advertising dollars, we're not going to turn those away at
Never.
all. And advertisers want to be where our people are too. And really, it's really referred to as top of mind advertising. So someone can't touch the screen right now and get to the advertiser site, or they can't push the button and call them right now. But they will see that image. They'll see it on our website. They'll see it on social. They'll see it in print. And it's just another way for advertisers to get their message out there. And so when
Mhm.
you're in an area like a hospital or a beauty salon where we spend lots of time, you have a captured audience, and they will see this message. And like I mentioned, we're putting positive news out there. You'll see advertising, you'll see things that are happening in the community, and what we believe is the extra benefit beyond the advertising dollars. We've restructured the advertising so it'll be much more affordable, and so it's kind of in layers. So new businesses, smaller businesses will have a lower price point, and then bigger businesses who can afford it and are in more zones because we plan on expanding thanks to another grant. Then we can approach and attract the larger businesses because I think it's really currently smaller businesses are interested because we're in this very targeted zone. But we have high
Right.
hopes we'll be in 3 zones by the end of the year.
So what's your third zone going to be?
We're going to be in downtown Baltimore.
That's great. Okay, so then Owings Mills, Randallstown, and downtown. That'll
Yes.
be
And
terrific.
we're looking at the schools. We're looking at partnering with the local HBCUs, Morgan State, Coppin State, and getting them on the campuses as well.
Well, that's a great idea. Yeah, I love that. And
Yeah.
so it also strikes me that I know you're at the time of our taping, you're getting ready for the Black Business Expo, which is
Yeah.
coming up in next couple weeks. And
Yeah.
so can you talk about how efforts like this kind of integrate with other things you're doing? I think sometimes when people think of the Afro, you know, immediately comes to mind the high tea and the fun sort of community centered events that you're doing. And the Black Business Expo, I think has I feel like that's grown in, the pandemic was tough for everybody in terms of those types of events, but it feels like that event has really started to regain some steam. Can you talk about how like initiatives like your best move connect in with the events that you already are doing?
Yes. So in all of our event packages, sponsor packages, we include a DBN, the billboard network option for animated ad or static ad or new sponsorship. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is at the event we will have the screen showing a demo loop. And so
Mm.
anyone who sponsors the event, their fully animated ad is on that screen. And let me add to that ad that we produce all the content. They don't have to
Oh.
produce it. We just receive their the text and the logos and their vision, and we produce all the content. So we really make it very simple and convenient for the advertisers to support this effort.
No, that makes perfect sense. All right, now I want to shift. Originally you had said, or earlier you said that you were able to do this proof of concept with a grant from Google. So tell us a little bit about the role of philanthropy in this initiative and what else you're working on.
Well, this really goes back to the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, I was a board member supporting the Afro's efforts. I married into the fifth generation of the Afro. And so I was volunteering. But during the pandemic, there were so many doors open for us when so many things were closing, when our papers were pulled from retail locations and we were looking for other opportunities. Our focus has been actually always on a digital presence. So
Mhm.
my husband and I worked on that very intentionally to have a digital presence. So when the pandemic hit and everyone was at their home, we were able to continue our efforts. And because of so many funding organizations and labs, we were able to apply for funding for these kind of efforts and also for efforts to learn how to manage our digital presence.
Mhm.
So we really just capitalized on that opportunity. And with my experience being a grant writer, I was able to write lots of grants and was fortunate enough to receive enough grants and enough history and proven track record. So when we saw this news equity fund opportunity, we were able to take advantage of it.
I feel like the Peck duo here is so amazing for the Afro to have sort of grant writing expertise and digital knowledge and sort of that visionary outlook. Um, you are rocking the fifth generation for
Thank
sure.
you. Well, he's
Congratulations.
taking the lead. Dr. Draper is an amazing leader. So,
She is.
we have a lot to look up to, and she's very competitive. So,
Yes.
we're always looking for new opportunities to be on the cutting edge. And we're just thankful for funders that come alongside us with a vision like this.
hmm And so now, do you think so? The grant was to sort of get you up and running. That grant didn't require any sustaining funds. You're now self-supporting in the initiative. Is that how that's working? Or
Well, we could have been if we just wanted to stay in one zone, but we sought out additional funding, so we will be expanding in zone 2 and 3 with those additional with that additional funding.
got it. Well, congratulations. I feel like that's a wonder, like that's huge. And I love that you've done such a sort of an innovative way to be thoughtful about where your audience is and to meet them where you are. Like I've totally enjoyed like the chicken box that you all do, and like you have really worked to increase the digital presence in a way that is engaging and fun,
Thank you.
especially for a company that's been around for 131 years. You know, you have the gravitas, but you don't take yourself so seriously. And I think that's important as news audiences are changing. Uh, and you have to like work harder to reach people and
Yes,
reach them in different ways. So
that's our
now, what
goal.
do you think is ahead? You know, I know you're going to expand into downtown, but what other initiatives, what can we look for you in best moves for 2024? Do you have plans?
Oh, we always have plans, and I'm sure it will involve artificial intelligence and ways that we can make our content more accessible online. You'll see some new initiatives in that effort. Of course, we're going to continue to expand the digital billboard network, and we're looking for strong collaborative partnerships, like I mentioned, with HBCUs, and we have a very strong advertising support from the medical community. So I believe we'll be targeting in those areas because I think that'll be great locations to have our presence in the local hospitals.
Right. Well, and I think you have such a unique opportunity because when you're in local hospitals, there's so many race-based health disparities.
Yeah.
And so you can use really the power of the Afro to be a trusted voice to reach communities and share information. I remember, I feel like one of your best moves, maybe pandemic era, was
Oh, yes.
all about the vaccine, I
Yes.
think.
Yes, it was the myths about the vaccine. So we had a comedian on the street, a man on the street, speaking to people about a lot of the stereotypes of the myths surrounding the vaccine. And then we combine that with some medical professionals to dispel those myths.
hmm And so I feel like you have a track record on really packaging information in a fun and interesting way to reach your audience and to do real, like material good in the community. So that's wonderful.
Thank
Um,
you.
now, no pressure, but I'm
Okay.
sure you have a sixth generation rolling around. What's have you started to bring that sixth generation into the business?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because the seventh generation, our granddaughter is turned one today. So we're
Oh, happy
celebrating her
birthday!
already. Thank you. As far as the sixth generation, they've helped with our digital efforts, have also contributed in writing. And we, every 2 years, all the cousins get together. And so we always present like the state of the Afro and also offer up opportunities where they could support our efforts. So we have the fifth generation has a presence on the board, and then their children are with us on this biannual cousin retreat, family reunion. And so it's always top of mind. And it's just something that's been encouraged. It's called Camp Granny. So back in the day, I understand from my husband is that his grandmother, who was Mrs. Draper's mother, who was
Mhm.
the former publisher of the DC edition, would bring in all her grandchildren and they would be selling the Afro, they would be doing advertisements or working in some way at the Afro. So I thought that was interesting.
That is amazing. I mean, it is really hard to have a family business that's been sustained for that period of time,
Yes.
but also to have I love that um, each generation has that sort of common ground to work in. I mean, it's hard to keep families together for that long a period of time, and to have sort of that commonality on Camp Granny and to see that continuing on is extraordinarily powerful. It's what a wonderful blessing to you and to the community, really. Well, it has been so lovely to talk to you, Dana. I feel like there's a lot more that we could talk about and do, but I can't wait to see how the digital billboard network continues to grow, and I can't wait to see what your best move is for 2024.
Thank you. Stay tuned. Thank you
Yeah,
for the support.
absolutely. Thanks. Thanks for listening to 5 Dubs with Rebecca Snyder. Please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review wherever you download your podcasts so that others can find us. What do you want to know about local journalism? Email me at rsnyder, SNYDER, at mddcpress.com. Interested in supporting our podcast and journalism? Please donate to our 501c3 Press Foundation. Find out more and see the full episode list and show notes at www.5-dubs.com.